If you could remove one event from your life, what would it be? Breaking my ankle when I was 8. I was trying to climb my grandma's rose apple tree and shattered my ankle. I'm in my 20s and have had 7 operations on it and ended up fucking my other leg while trying to avoid injury on my shitty ankle, all because I wanted a fruit and grandma told me to wait until morning. My life would have been much easier and less painful if I listened to my gran, and now I just wish she was still here telling that I need to clean my ears and listen more, because whenever I didn't listen to her I ended in stupid situations. It's a tie between losing my dad and losing my sister. No need to be sorry for my loss or to feel sorry for me, I just wish I'd had longer with them. Being buck ragged as a punishment by my parents growing up. Look it up if you don't know what it is. Worst childhood memory by far, despite being close with my family. Then again, the 2 times I received it I had been a pretty big piece of shit. Who knows what I'd be like today if I wasn't punished for it. Losing my mom. My sexual abuse. Being robbed by someone I considered a friend. Ruined my trust in people. I was around 15, and I had bought a VR headset from those vending machines. Yeah, I tried watching VR porn and my mom walked in. The amount of embarrassment I felt was unreal. To this day I still get chills from it. It's not something I often talk about because I still experience shame. I lost my eyesight in my right eye because I was a teenager who thought I knew better and did not wear a paintball mask. It was such a stupid mistake and caused me an endless amount of trauma. However, I am grateful that it taught me in hardest way that impairments are not always visual. Pun. At this point in my life, I have lived longer without vision in that eye than I did with. Oftentimes, it's common for me to be completely unaware that anything is abnormal about myself until I am made to realize that something or someone is trying to grab my attention from the right side, and it becomes a stark reminder of that stupid fateful day. Usually I shrug it off, but sometimes it still stings. So, my answer to this question is that I would have never asked my mom to buy me a paintball gun. Ultimately, I think out of all the events that shaped my being, this one has the least likelihood of having drastic butterfly effect type consequences. My most traumatizing experience was getting spit on, puked on by a llama at a petting zoo with my first girlfriend. What I thought I knew when I entered the petting zoo. Llamas are cute furry animals whose only real defense is to spit. Just wipe it off, no big deal. What I knew when I left the petting zoo. If you really piss them off, llama spit is actually green, smells like putrid rat carcasses boiled in sour milk, and won't wash off no matter how long you spend in the petting zoo bathroom. When I was molested. I'm just gonna say it. This thread is so sad. I thought for sure it would be more embarrassing but funny stuff, but it's actually just a lot of really sad events. Hard to choose. Some of the worst brought some of the best. I would say my marriage, but it brought me my best friends that helped me after it ended. Also, she got me to volunteer with her to help rehabilitate baby songbirds at the university. Something I never would have thought of doing on my own. I wouldn't give that up even though my life sucks post-divorce. As a young man in Eastern Europe, before the Cold War ended, I was sentenced to the farm pit for dealing drugs. It was basically a deep, concrete pit at a hog farm. The criminal stands inside for a few hours, and then the pig's dung is shoveled in with you. I thankfully have a much better life today, but I'll never forget the sickening nausea of the pit. The bombing of the Dachau in Sadr City, https://www.nytimes.com/2008/06/25Iraq.html on June 24, 2008. Fuck you Colonel Dipshit who denied our request for the bomb dog and change of venue after the 6th straight day of making the same trip at the same time. Rip Captain Farley, CW3 Hammett, the other 2 soldiers, the interpreter, and the 6 Jundi who lost their lives that day. I was a victim of domestic violence from 16 to 18. But in the end it's made me a better therapy student and will make me a better therapist. I could do without the lingering PTSD and anxiety though. Either quitting college or going in the first place. If you removed the death of a close friend, would that friend be alive? My kidney stone of April 4, 2020 and having to go to a hospital during a pandemic. And my brother's suicide. I believe my life would be completely different had this not had happened. Anytime I was sexually assaulted. It's not just one event, but if I could combine them all and completely remove from memory, it would be that. My parents' meeting. The guy's always been a dick. She deserves so much better. I wish I never met my baby's mom. I love my daughter, but I hate her mom so much. Our relationship was horrible and just got worse when we broke up. I wish I had a child with anyone else. The time I had ear surgery and the anesthesia fucked with my brain and now I can't fucking function as a person. Being born to my mom. I like being alive, though my mom is an actual monster. I wish it was someone else. First day as a dog groomer. Had to help with expressing dog anal glands and got a face full of them, and puked in front of everyone. Sad face, sad face. Getting married when I knew it was a mistake. Gave away my first laptop to my cousin cuz I felt empathetic. He already had one. I hate that day, bro. Tinnitus, sad face. I wish my easily manipulated teenage brain wasn't talked into going to some out-of-state private school for my degree. I have since transferred to a state school and commute. It's going to take me a little longer to graduate and I'm saving a shit ton, but because of that initial decision I'm over $75,000 in the hole and still racking it up. Miscarriages. My dad taking me to follow my mom who was with another guy. Stopped at an underground parking lot and my dad got into an altercation with the guy. I was 10 and crying in the car while my older brother sat there in silence. I can't help to think, why did my dad would put me through that trauma at such a young age? To this day, I still don't know why and don't want to know why. When I was 21, I joined the Marines. Only lasted a month in boot camp. I wasn't meant for military life. When my friend showed me porn, I was 8. My dad dropping dead in front of me when I was a teen. I was about 25 when I decided to explore new kinks. Power went out, and I thought it was the perfect time to try a new one, public masturbation. Went outside. It was super dark, no chance people could see me. Start jacking off. Power comes back on. I'm directly under a streetlight. Every single fucking person looks out their window to see if the power is back everywhere, and sees me beating off. Edit. For people asking what I did next, I fucking moved. My apartment was already shit and I felt no attachment to that place. I witnessed a nasty murder. I was in my Jeep with the top down and watched two guys argue on the sidewalk. I didn't want to get involved, so I just sat there. One guy pulled out a homemade knife, shank, and plunged it into the other guy's eye. The sound was horrific. I wish I had beeped my horn or something and tried to get them to move along. The guy was later caught and convicted of murder, but I'll never forget the crunching sound when that knife went into his skull. Nightmares for life. Also, my motorcycle accident where I nearly lost my leg 35 years ago. That sucked. Can I remove events in the future? Can I erase my death and become immortal? My dad calling me fat when I was a slightly chubby 9-year-old. Was part of a pattern that absolutely ruined my sense of self. Being born. My suicide attempt. Apart from now being in a much healthier place mentally, I regret some of the ways it's changed my family. My parents are a lot less pushy and strict when it comes to my plans for the future, which they believed they pressured me into. That's true to some extent. They definitely needed to learn to dial back in some regards. In fact, I think we all had to. But now they seem almost afraid to advise me on anything, even when I ask for it. I'm almost out of college, but I still have a lot to learn about adult life, and I'm not gonna always know when to ask for advice. I never thought anyone would say this, but I want my parents to be a little more meddlesome. My dad had a stroke 2 years ago. That in and of itself is pretty terrible, but one of the worst nights of my life happened in the hospital. My mom had started having seizures the week before, so she couldn't stay with him overnight, so my sister and I were taking turns. Neither of us were sleeping very well anyway because of everything going on. My dad hadn't yet passed the swallow test, so he couldn't eat or drink anything. He was only at like 60% mental capacity in terms of knowing what was going on. I was already at my wit's end, sleep deprived and feeling helpless. He was cognizant enough to know that he hadn't had anything to eat or drink, but not so much so that he could comprehend that he had a feeding tube in giving him what he needed. Every 30-ish minutes, he'd wake up and basically beg me to go to the drink machine and get him a Sprite or just give him a drink of water out of the tap. The most I could do was give him 2 ice chips every hour. I felt selfish for feeling the way that I did because I was frustrated and upset and annoyed and angry and sad, but I knew all of that paled to what he was experiencing. It was a bad night. Finding and reading the spiral-bound notebook filled with my mom's ramblings during one of her bad bipolar episodes, wherein she described being raped at the age of 20. I was 8 when I read it. Well, my mom killed herself 4 weeks ago. High school. Last year, when I went in for surgery to fix a broken leg and something went wrong. I woke up 18 days later with a TBI. When I woke up I couldn't see, move, or speak. I can sort of walk now. I can't really see faces, or read well, and I slur my words when I speak, but I'm largely functional for caring for myself. Getting ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, which led to me losing my house and career and having to live in shitty rentals and subsist on benefits. Cutting as a teenager. Scars are not worth it. Only dentist that accepted my family's insurance at the time was rated 2.35 stars. My dentist fucked up the anesthetic 4 times. All 4 of which she scraped the fuck out of my gums with the needle, slipped on one of them and jabbed my cheek with the needle, the kicker. She didn't even numb the right spot. She starts drilling. Her tool that sprays water is broken. So about 1/3 of the water goes into my mouth, the rest just fucking sprays me. She slipped at one point and skated the drill across another tooth and caught my cheek. She let out an audible, shit, and went back to working. The dental assistant proceeded to ask the dentist a question about her personal life. They then had a 15 to 20 minutes convo while she just held the spinning drill, hovering over my tongue. I go to a new dentist. Turns out she didn't fill the tooth properly and left a huge gap between the filling and the wall of my tooth, which is why it kept hurting. Mail here. I was once working with jalapenos for part of a dinner I was making. My hands were bare as I sliced them open, stuffed them, etc. Hands were full of jalapeno oils. I then had to go to the bathroom. You can figure out the rest. My mom suffering before she passed. I wouldn't remove anything. Who knows what other terrible event would take its place. Being coerced into sex. Saw it coming from a mile away and felt like that night was a fucking chess match to get me in bed with them. The day I had a fight with my grandpa about ethnicity and stuff. One day, I GPT upset about him saying about how I should not do this and that, because it was not ideal for our religion. I became angry and said, well, sorry if I do that. It's my life and you don't get to decide what I should do with it. I don't like this stupid stuff we have to do, so I won't do it. Then I stormed off. I didn't talk to him for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I felt really guilty. I knew he was a highly religious man. I shouldn't have tried to question or demoralize his beliefs by saying what I said. So in feeling of guilt, I tried to get back and apologize to him. He didn't carry a phone, so I couldn't call him. So I thought I would apologize to him the next day in his house. Big mistake. Turns out while I was having this mental argument with myself, my grandpa had passed away. I had missed 9 calls from my mother, and when I finally picked up, I found out about this. I was heartbroken. To this day, I believe my rudeness made him heartbroken, which eventually led to his demise. This was 3 years ago. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I shouldn't have been so harsh on you. You were just trying to pass down your beliefs to me. I'm sorry. Definitely the cancer. My mother telling investigators that despite there being an eyewitness, that I lied about being sexually assaulted by a grown man when I was a child. They chose to believe her instead of a traumatized broken kid. Ruined my life. Crossing a road in Melbourne in 1999. Got hit by car and given permanent brain damage, and from that moment my life changed course forever. If it hadn't happened, I would have had a much different, much less painful life. I was working part-time as a gardener, studying IT, preparing to apply for uni to do a course on journalism which I had a good chance of getting into. Was also doing volunteer work with street people, and paneling and presenting a couple of radio shows on a minor AM radio station. And had just done over a year of physical rehabilitation for a bad back, lots of gym and fitness work, physio, and I was about the fittest I've ever been. Then I crossed the road and everything changed forever. Moving from my old house. I think that's the worst mistake of my life, but as a kid I couldn't do much about it. My uncle staying with my family as a kid. Doubt I'll ever be able to have a normal relationship with someone, physically. Doesn't exactly make me prime dating material. My best friend killing himself. It's his birthday next month. After reading this comment section, I have found a new appreciation for how good my life has been so far. I've been going through a rough patch lately, but really life could be a lot worse. I'm blessed. The time I called my 7th grade history teacher, Dad. I'm sorry, Mr. Donnie. The 1st of December 2019 I wrecked my car. I really liked that car and I miss it. Also all the money that I'm out because of wrecking it. Removing my interaction with this one toxic girl. Never met her. Never suffered because of her. Losing my father back in 2017. Fuck cancer. The day I had to call 911 on Dad's mistress number 2 trying to kill him because he decided to stay with mistress number 1 for whom he left my mom and my 5 siblings for. Talk about hot mess. The event of my dad's sperm saying what up let me inside you to my mom's egg. I don't know how ugly motherfuckers keep finding each other. My wife passing away. Let's just remove that part and have her sitting next to me right now talking about the ham she's going to make for Thanksgiving. Watching my 2.5-year-old puppy get run over by a car. I'd give up almost anything to get her back. Being bitten by a gaboon viper on the right ankle. Most extreme pain I've ever been in. I puked and screamed on the way to the hospital. Agreeing to a deal with my parents. It led to me going to their choice of my college instead of mine. And it led to me having a ton of debt, and it led to me working dead-end jobs instead of becoming a teacher. Thanks for watching. See you later.